Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Katie, for those of you who don't know me already. And I started a YouTube channel about a month ago and have just done a few makeup tutorials. But I thought today I would just let you get to know me a little bit better so that you know where I'm coming from and why I even started this channel in the first place. I started off doing makeup. I was a makeup artist for Chanel for 2 years, and then I started doing hair. I was a color specialist in Newport Beach for about 7 or 8 years, and unfortunately I just kind of fell out of love with doing both of those things professionally. I still love everything about makeup products, beauty products, hair, skin, like nail polish, everything when it comes to that. I'm kind of a junkie and I literally buy everything that I see, and I just want to try everything out. So the whole thought behind this was that I can kind of be your guinea pig and try all these things out, because I do anyway, and let you know what I like and what I don't like and what you should buy or what you shouldn't buy. My whole thought and what I believe is that you don't really have to be a professional to know what you're doing or to make it look like you know what you're doing. So today's video is going to be all about foundations. I use like 3 to 5 foundations on a regular basis that I go between depending on the look that I'm going for or the finish that I want, or where I'm going that day, if I'm going out, if I'm just running errands, things like that. So I thought I would go over all of those with you just to let you know what I like about them, or how the finish is, or how they look, or how the coverage is, so you can kind of decide what you think would work best for you. So the first one I'm starting off with today is the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. So this is the matte Poreless formulation. They do have a dewy formulation as well. I really like the dewy formulation, but I can't use it because it doesn't wear well on my skin because I am oily. So about an hour after I have it on, it just is too shiny looking for me. So if you have dry skin, you would love that formula. But for me, the matte Poreless is the best. It really just smooths your pores over. It just has a really nice finish to it. It's a medium to full coverage foundation. It looks like makeup, but it's not super matte to where it looks like you're caked on or heavy. It can kind of go both ways, and especially because I'm oily, as my oils come through, it does have kind of a more satin finish on it, which I like a lot. I don't like to look too matte sometimes. This is the foundation that I wear when it can be a night out, or it can be if I want to look a little bit more done for the day, just running errands. I don't have to wear a primer with this foundation. It holds up really well on its own. And I just love it. I love the colors that they have too, because I really prefer a more yellow or olive tone foundation and concealer, and this has a really good range of colors. A lot of times I find that there's way too much pink, but this one isn't. It has, especially this one, has a really great warm but not orange color to it. So this is definitely hands down my all-time favorite liquid foundation. Today I have on the Maybelline Fit Me, and I put this on right now. It's almost 4 o'clock. I put this foundation on at 9 o'clock. Like, still looking pretty good. So go out and get this. $6 at Target. Like, what do you have to lose? $6? I apply this with a sponge. It still goes on nicely with a kabuki style foundation brush. I've used that as well. So it's versatile and it's really great. I love it, love it, love it. I recommend this to like everybody. Okay, let's move on. Next, the one that I'm gonna talk about is the Burt's Bees. It's called Goodness Glows. I love that this one has a pump. I actually mix two, because I love the tone of 1035 Soft Honey. I love the tone of this. It's really yellow like I like, but it's a little bit too dark for me. So I mix in a little bit of 1010 Ivory with it. It is not as much of a matte finish. It's definitely more of a satin finish. And what I mean by that is it's in between matte and dewy, basically. It has a luminosity to it, so it is kind of glowing, but its underlying is matte. It's gonna have an underlying matte finish to it with a little bit of luminosity on top. So I like to use this foundation when I want a more glowy look. It does not conceal my pores as well as the Maybelline does because that is a matte finish. So I prefer a primer with this one. You don't have to use a primer with this. It still holds up really well on its own, but just because of the reason that it shows my pores a little bit more, that's why I like to use a primer with this foundation. The coverage is really good on it. It might even be a little bit better coverage than the Maybelline, but because you can build up on it, you're fine either way. Most foundations are gonna be buildable. If you do one layer, let it sit for a second, throw on another layer, it's gonna have more coverage on it. So almost all foundations, pretty much all foundations are gonna be buildable. So this is called Goodness Glows anyway by Burt's Bees. It does have like a waxy smell to it. It's not terrible, but I did notice it the first time that I used it. If you have really oily skin, you're probably not gonna like this very much because I do start to get a little bit shiny under it. If I know I'm gonna need my makeup to last for like 8 hours, this is not the one I'm gonna grab. It just doesn't hold up as nicely as the Maybelline. It can separate a little bit sometimes. I feel like with the Maybelline, more concealers and powders and other products work better with the Maybelline, whereas this one I have to be a little bit more careful of what concealer I use with it, or when I'm setting it, I have to be really careful. So that's just something to watch out for. But I still really like the way that this looks, and I really like the coverage on it. I do still use it from time to time, but it's more of, you know, if I'm just gonna go out to dinner, I love this one. It catches the light really well. It has a beautiful finish on it. So I do like the Burt's Bees. I do recommend this. It's just not an all night, all day, long wear foundation. Moving on, number 3. This has very quickly become my second favorite foundation. It's almost my first favorite, but I'll tell you why it's not. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. They also have another formula, it's called Pro Glow. I tried that one, I hated it. I hated it. When I put the Pro Glow on, it didn't stick to my face. I would go to apply it with the sponge and it just was really movable. It moved around too much. So I didn't like that one, but I have heard great things about it. So maybe if you're a little bit drier, then you would like that better. So this claims to be a 24-hour foundation. I haven't tried it for 24 hours, but I have worn this foundation for probably 10 hours and it looks exactly the same as when I put on. I don't know what is in this, but it's amazing. It's ridiculous. The reason why it's not my top foundation, my number 1 favorite foundation, is because it's a very matte finish. I look very made up when I have this makeup on. It doesn't look cakey. It still has a really nice matte finish on it, but it's definitely for my nights out or my very made up looks. I would never grab this foundation if I'm just running errands for the day, but I still want to put on makeup. I would definitely grab the Maybelline Fit Me. So that's the only reason why this isn't my number 1, but it's ridiculous. If you have oily skin, you would love this foundation. You don't even have to set this with a powder. I don't use any powder on my face when I use this. Just, it already has such a matte finish and it stays so well on its own. You don't have to use a primer with this one, but I like to. I do think that the finish is a little bit nicer and it sticks to my skin a little bit better with a primer. I don't know if that makes sense, but a lot of foundations, when you go to put them on, like with your sponge or with your brush or whatever you use, they are very movable. They move around a lot when you're putting it on. This can do that a tiny bit if I don't have the primer on, so I do still use a primer with this, but it holds up well on its own also. So you could go either way with that. So this one claims to have a demi matte finish. It's matte. It's a matte finish. I don't know why they're saying demi matte. There's nothing demi matte about this. It is a bomb ass matte finish. Looks amazing. Makes your skin look flawless, and it makes it like you have 0 pores on your face. So very good. I also combined 2 colors with this one too. 104 Golden Beige and 101 Classic Ivory. The only downfall to this foundation is their color selection is pretty small. There's probably, I want to say 10, maybe less than 10 different shades that they have for this. That's the only downfall for this one for me. But otherwise, like, amazing. So the next one I'm going to talk about, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but it is Wet n Wild. This is called Photo Focus Foundation. I think it's like $4. So a lot of people have been talking about this, like YouTubers and, you know, so I had to try it out. It smells like paint, straight up like paint. Really, it smells like paint. It's really weird. I hate the applicator. It's this weird like spatula type thing, but the foundation itself, I like. I know, it's Wet n Wild. It's so weird. So usually I can just use the darker tone, but in the winter I find that I have to like throw in just a little bit of like a lighter shade. So I use Bronze Beige and I toss in a little bit of Porcelain. You're gonna look made up with this. So if you're going for a natural look, or you don't like it to look like you have a lot of makeup on, you're not gonna like this foundation. This is like the L'Oreal, where I only use this when I wanna look really done up. It's definitely like a satin matte finish. I don't count on this lasting me more than 5 hours. So again, this is something that I'll like wear to work if I'm just gonna be, you know, there for like 4 or 5 hours. I like the way this one is. If I'm just gonna go to dinner and not go out after, I will wear this one. But again, I'm not wearing this out at night. It starts to move too much after I've been wearing it for too long. Whereas the other ones, especially the Fit Me and the L'Oreal, even if I've been sweating underneath it and I like touch my face, it's not gonna move. This isn't even necessarily like a favorite. I like it. When I'm done with this, will I buy it again? I don't think so. The other 3 I like a lot better. So this is kind of like a, I like it because I have it, but I don't know if I'd go back to it again. But it's so weird because everybody swears that it's like so amazing. It's got great coverage, great coverage. I mean, it's paint, so I mean, it's gonna cover anything. I could put this on the wall probably if I wanted to. Like, it for real smells like paint. If you want a really cheap foundation and you don't want something that's gonna last you a long time, it could just be because I'm more oily. Maybe if you are a little bit more dry, this will sit better on your skin. Definitely I use a primer with this one. Hands down primer. Have to set this one, all of the above. So that's the Wet n Wild. Foundations that I don't own, that I love. Laura Mercier used to be my jam. Like, the best foundation ever. Really good. So if you're wanting to go out and spend a lot of money on a foundation, because I think it's like $42, I want to say it's $42 now. Laura Mercier has like an amazing foundation. Giorgio Armani, again, spectacular. Like really, really good foundation. Probably $48 or something like that. So if I ever splurge, which I do from time to time, Laura Mercier is what I would splurge on. Setting powders, you want to talk about that for a minute? Real quick, let's just talk about it real quick. There are basically 3 different powders in my collection at all times. Number one is a foundation powder. This is really embarrassing because I'm gonna show you this, but there's literally like no powder in here at all. And this is more expensive. It's really hard to find a foundation powder that's drugstore or inexpensive. So this is Jane Iredale. Like I said, it's gone. There's nothing in there. Why do I even have this? Huh. I'm to the point in this powder where I take the end of like my powder brush, the sharp part, and scrape around and then get the powder out. Does anyone else do that? Is that terrible? Just like buy a new one. Anyway, this is like 40 bucks and I'm so funny. I don't even buy it in the compact. I just buy it in this because I think it's like $10 cheaper or something. The color that I use in the Jane Iredale is Warm Sienna. Again, has that really nice yellow tone to it that I love. It's just a great powder foundation that I can still even put over like the Maybelline Fit Me foundation, the liquid. I can put this over it and it doesn't look cakey. It has a nice, like very subtle luminosity to it that I am still comfortable with even though I'm oily. So this is for sure like favorite powder foundation. So most people use the setting powders for under their eyes, which I hate. I have tried every single setting powder to set my concealer and I hate all of them. I hate the way it looks. I hate it. I would rather find a concealer that doesn't crease and that I don't have to set than have that powdery look under my eyes. And it's like anytime I use a setting powder under my eyes, no matter how translucent it is, it oxidizes my concealer, which I hate because I like a really bright look under my eyes. So yes, Laura Mercier's translucent powder is the best. Anyone will tell you, the best setting powder out there, like hands down. I have one right now, but I don't ever use it. I wanna say Laura Mercier is like 38, 38, I think it's like 35. So I found this one recently, which is the Maybelline Master Fix. It's called Setting and Perfecting Loose Powder. I really like this one a lot. I think this one was it was under $10, I'm sure, at Target. I do like this. I will use this sometimes just with like a loose powder brush or just set around here. I like to set around my nose and right here and on my chin where I just get a little bit oily, but I just steer clear of this area. I don't ever put any powder at all under my eyes. Any like professional makeup artist will tell you that I'm insane because they all take the beauty blender, take the translucent powder and like pack it under their eye, let it sit and then wipe it off. I don't do it. Anyway, I do really like this though. This is a really great setting powder. Super fine, translucent. It works really well. I also really love the Maybelline Fit Me Set and Smooth. This one is a pressed powder. I just like to take this one, use my powder brush and just sort of pat, you know, I don't dust it, I just sort of tap it like on my face. And again, I just stay away from this area. It just sets it in really nicely. So that's my call on the powders. Thanks for listening to me talk today, guys. I hope that you gained a little bit of information on foundations and it helps you next time you go to the store and are trying to pick one out. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that I went over today, just leave it in the comments down below and I will definitely get back to you. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Bye. Sorry, I like to ramble. Give me a thumbs up. Can't. There's a hair in my face. There's gonna be so many edits on this video. Cut and paste.